memorable games back in 2012, the Olympic Park, of course, in London. Good morning to you, Rosie. First of all, let's be a little bit nostalgic, indulge yourselves in those Olympic Games. I remember going to them, nearly 10 years ago now. They were phenomenal, a real moment for Britain, weren't they?
Oh, they absolutely were. Welcome on to the Stratford Olympic site, the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park. Cast your minds back to 9 years ago. We were sort of on tenterhooks as we showcased to the world, in front of a television audience of around 900 million people, the very best of British. There was Mr. Bean playing on the piano. There was the Queen flying out of a helicopter, followed by James Bond. Do you remember the absolute excitement, the adrenaline that captured the city as London hosted the 2012 Olympics? Tokyo has its chance today. It will, of course, be a very different, more muted start, as it won't be the same that we had in London. 80,000 fans to watch it all kick off. Instead, just 1,000 people instead. One of the really big criticisms of the London Olympics initially was, what are they going to do with this space, Stratford, this area, the residence where all the Olympians were staying in, these fantastic venues, the aquatic centres just there on my right-hand side. How are they going to use them? Well, the one thing 9 years on that it has really provided a home to is some fantastic community projects. Let me introduce you now to Jess, Robson, who joins me. Now, running and mental health, a combination of the two in Run, Talk, Run. Talk us through it. On a Tuesday night, I can come here and go for a jog and chat.
Absolutely. So we're a mental health support running community. We facilitate 5-kilometre gentle jogs, and yes, one of them is here. They meet literally just behind us every Tuesday evening. And the premise is that people can run at their own pace. You don't have to be fast enough or fit enough, and you can talk about some of the heavier stuff that you might not ordinarily be able to talk about just with your friends.
So you founded this 4 years ago. What was the motivation behind that?
It was very much started on the back of my own experience of mental ill health. I struggled to open up in a therapy environment where I was sat down, but I found that when I was running it was a lot easier and less intimidating to talk about some of those heavier thoughts. When you remove eye contact and you're moving, it's a lot easier to share. So I wanted to open that up to other people and make it less scary.
And you started doing that sort of very organically with your mum, and you thought, oh, maybe other people would benefit from this as well.
Absolutely. So I found all the other sort of running communities when I was in a bad headspace quite scary. They all looked very fast. They all looked very cool and good vibes only, which was the opposite to how I was feeling. So I wanted to create a more gentle space, which was more accessible to people.
Because there are lots of organised runs that happen in and around the capital and around the country as well, but maybe they have a little bit more of an intimidating prospect. I mean, once when I did, I don't think Park Run is intimidating. Once when I did Park Run, someone said, are you doing Park Walk this week? And I thought, oh no, but there's no pace, is there? You can do it at whatever you fancy or however you feel.
Absolutely. So we're okay with walking, and you're right, some of the other running communities, they're great, but they can be very scary. If you're struggling with your mental health, to turn up for the first time is quite intimidating.
Do you think there has been a bit of a shift to greater accessibility and greater sort of social acceptance of talking about mental health?
I definitely think it's improving. There's so much more awareness. I think we do need more spaces where it's encouraged. I think there's a lot of people who are willing to talk about their mental health now, but you need those spaces where they can.
It's 5K, which might seem a bit intimidating if you're someone who's never really run before. What tips have you got for someone who thinks, actually, maybe I probably should get myself off the sofa and just at least try?
I just say to lower the expectations of yourself. You don't have to go out and run a full 5K. As you mentioned with the park run, it's okay to run and walk. Sort of set the goal a little bit lower and just take the first step.
You've got Run, Talk, Run, but you've also got Walk, Talk, Walk as well. So that's for people who maybe the running at this point they're not quite ready for.
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots of Walk, Talk, Walk groups throughout the UK that you can join, which, is definitely a good place to start.
Now, the Olympics starts in Tokyo. It's not, of course, going to be the same and have that same electric atmosphere as when London hosted it 9 years ago. Is there anything particularly you're really looking out for?
The athletics, mostly, I think, Yeah, watching the runners.
Of course, that sort of roar in the stadium, which just isn't going to be the same. Jess, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. So that happens once a week here in Stratford. It's just one example of many. And over the course of the morning, I'm going to be finding out a little bit more about the legacy of the Olympics in London. What has this sort of set of stadiums and that grounds, what's it done for London and for the people who live around this city as we gear up for Tokyo Olympics kicking off later?